Hi folks, this week we're going to make soft sculpture. I'm going to have you use anything that you have available, but I'm also going to suggest some things that you might have left in your Go kits, including the needle I gave you, some thread, which is attached to my project here, and maybe some leftover things like the styrofoam ball, some of this stuff, the ash lashing, maybe some of the popsicle sticks, maybe some wire, anything you have around the house like yarn or pipe cleaners would be good, any extra string or stuff like that, or any old fabric that you might have kicking around. So you can scour your house and forage for whatever you want, but I'm just thinking that these are some things that were left in your Go kit that you could use. So soft sculpture is just that. It's squishy sculpture, and generally it's made out of fiber, everything from material to, like I said, string and yarn. And so the operative thing here is that you're giving form to fiber. And so I'm gonna tip my camera down here and show you what I'm doing. I took the white material that is in your Go kit. It's got this lovely kind of shine to it. This was actually an old wedding dress that I got at Goodwill and cut it up because I love the material. It's kind of blank, but it's also got a little bit of sparkle to it. And I gave you what's called quilting thread. Well, now you're at school. You can hear the announcements. And so what I did was I put my styrofoam ball that I had left over in here, and I also used some of the packing material to give this a little bit of form. Now, you could stuff anything in there. You could use other material. You could use, anything like yarn or pillow stuffing, anything like that, if you want to give your piece a little bit of form. But what I loved about this material especially is the drape of it. So what I'm doing right now, and I know it's a little hard to tell, but I'm making this sort of ghost-like bird. Hi, I am recording.
Oh, I interrupted.
Can I come get you in a minute?
No, I'm just gonna leave this here.
Okay.
Just for you. So sorry.
So I'm trying to make a little beak here, and so I'm going to wrap this thread around here just to give it a little form. I don't want it too tight. And I'm going to keep going and loosening as I get to the top here. Now, I may go back and do some more work there, but I'm going to tie this off. And sometimes that's easier said than done. The thread that I chose actually is kind of interesting. It's from the American Thread Company. It's ancient. This is probably like 75 years old, but it was actually made in Maine. And I've had that spool forever, and it's great thread. I keep using it and reusing it, and I really love it. And so hopefully it'll be pretty easy to tie off. Okay, so I'm gonna clip that, and I'll probably clip it a little closer later on. But you can see, like, I'm starting to get this little ghostly bird shape here. I've started stitching this down here, and I'm gonna keep going with that. Careful not to puncture my air bag in there. But just one thing about threading a needle. Most people know how to do this, but I think when I work with kids at school and we're threading things, they don't always know how to do it. So you're gonna thread your needle, and then I pull it through like maybe 8-10 inches or so. And then I'll give myself a nice length of it. I'm gonna cut that there. Don't tie any knots right here. People often think they have to tie a knot right there. But if you tie a knot right there, you're not going to be able to get through the material that you need to pull that through. So your knot wants to go down here. And if you want a double strand, you can do a double strand, but I usually like a single strand, and then I can kind of adjust it, and I just slipped that through there. Sometimes knot tying is a little bit tricky. I usually do a double knot. And the good thing about this thread is that it's thick enough so that you can actually really get a good substantial knot that will stay. And if you want to trim the tail a little bit, you can. So threading that needle is pretty important, because if you want to, you know, stitch some of this stuff down, like I'm going to do here, you got to got to have your knot tied at the end.
Tuck responsive to SAO. Tuck responsive to SAO.
Oh, and there's someone at my door. My God, people are just all over the place today. You can see what I'm doing here. Pulling that nice and tight. Pulling that nice and tight. And I'm trying to just kind of control this neck area here. So I don't really know what I'm going for quite yet. I just know I want this sort of ghostly bird form. And you want to look at it every once in a while and make sure it looks right. Being able to stitch something is a really good skill to have. I will just say that, because if you know how to stitch something, you'll be able to, you know, do all kinds of things with, you know, alterations and clothing and, you know, sewing buttons on. It's actually a skill that is pretty nice to have. I have to profess that I sew quite a bit. I love to use, I have a sewing machine that I just really love. And so I do a lot of sewing, but even if you don't do a lot of sewing or have never sewed before, I think this is a skill that you want to have. Whether you're a homemaker or a doctor or, you know, wilderness folks need to know how to stitch up a finger or something if they need to. It's definitely a good skill to know. So when I get to the end of where I want to stitch, I just tie a knot right here. Boom. And I like to tie a double knot. Now there's some little puckers and things here that I don't love, and I'll probably go through and correct those later on. But for now, this is kind of what I want. Now, I have to resolve this bottom part, and what I think I'm gonna do is maybe just have some sort of, oh dude, my gosh, this is just the worst video ever. Have some sort of tail that comes to an end, and I think what I'll do is probably add another video later of how I finish this up. I think I'll probably tuck it like that. I'm not sure I want a lot of wing action, but the one thing that I did earlier was I stitched some of this ash reed type wood here into this white fabric, and I think somehow my bird is going to perch on that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use wire or something else, but I'd like you to just kind of have fun with this and, you know, work on making a soft sculpture. Okay, so most of the sculptures we've done so far are, you know, they're pretty tough, whether it's plaster or soapstone, that kind of thing. And typically sculpture you think of as being durable materials, but this one's going to be squishy. So have fun with it, and let me know if you have problems. Thank you. Sorry for the bad quality of the video.